The deaths of 20 people in a bus accident last week brought to the fore the rather ignored but important debate on the safety on Ugandan roads. In just last year alone, police says there were over 33 accidents on Ugandan roads daily, which killed close to 3,700 people and injured over 8,300. This is no small number, for it represents 10 deaths daily. Are Ugandan roads a death trap and national emergency that needs immediate attention? And if that attention must be provided, where must effort be exerted? Tonight on the spot, we host Alex Ruhunda, who leads the parliamentary group on road safety, a road safety activist, and a mover of the law to regulate speeds on Ugandan roads. He's also the MP for Fort Portal, where the accident happened. We also host Rogers Nsereko, the Kampala Metropolitan Police Commander, in whose region the highest incidents of road accidents are reported. This is On the Spot. Gentlemen, thank you so much for having honored our invitation. A warm welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
I must say, the nation tonight is waiting to listen to what you're going to say about road safety. And let me begin with you, Mr. Rogers Nsereko, because you are the Kampala Metropolitan Traffic Commander, where there's a lot of insanity on our roads. As men and women in uniform, are you sometimes overwhelmed by the number of indisciplined road users that even if you want to enforce the laws and regulations that we have, you can't actually do anything?
Thank you, Patrick, for this opportunity. And let me first of all send my condolences to the people who lost their beloved ones in these tragic accidents, and even others who have lost their beloved ones in other accidents. It may not be necessarily this one, but people lose their beloveds every day. Having said that, you are right. Sometimes I think we can say we can be overwhelmed, indeed. Why? As police, we try as much as possible to do community policing, to try to talk to the public about these issues. We engage border riders, we engage bus drivers and operators, we engage taxi operators. But at the end of the day, I believe sometimes what we say maybe falls on deaf ears, because what we witness in the field is not what we expect, in spite of the effort we put into do community policing to try to see that we improve the situation. However, as police, we are doing what we know best, and we are trying to enforce the law. And if you follow statistics by NAMPIMA, ASP NAMPIMA, our PRO, every Monday, you see the numbers of tickets we issue a week, and they're in big numbers. So as traffic all over, we try our best.
Commander Nsereko, bloodbath on Ugandan roads, carnage on our roads in Kampala and beyond. If that is not enough to make you move and even do more of what is required of you, what will?
As I said, as police, we really try. We try our best. I don't know what else we should deploy, but at the end of the day, it is not police to blame. It is us road users. What kind of discipline do we have when we're using the road? As a driver, what kind of measures are you putting in place to see that you are safe? And for the rest of the other road users, how sure are you that they are safe? What efforts are you putting in? Because there's lots of reasons that people give that I find to be wanting, that the roads are narrow, that the roads are bad, that the roads are slippery when it rains. all these are flimsy reasons, because if you are furnished with this kind of information that actually at such and such a place on a rainy day, the road tends to be slippery, why do you have to drive recklessly at such a point?
Okay, hold on to your point there.
Yes.
Let me bring in Honorable Alex Ruhunda, because you are a legislator, you're a road safety activist, you are heavily involved in this. You have listened to the frustration of a police traffic commander for Kampala because of the indiscipline of we Ugandans. As a legislator, how do we move this? How do we bring sanity on Ugandan roads?
Yeah, my condolences to our people who have lost their dear ones throughout the country, because as you have seen the statistics, 300 deaths since January is such a huge number. That is quite an abnormal situation. And I can see from your submission how you really emotionally drive the point of being disturbed.
It is disturbing.
It is really something that is manageable. You know, a lot that is going on, like I keep hearing people thinking that was your day. Really, you don't drive people to death and then everybody says that was your day. You didn't choose that day in any case, but so to me, the mentality of Ugandans is something which we have to really work hard to change, because you know, I have been talking to some educated Ugandans, and they say they prefer to move with a bus that moves faster. Because they want to go and catch up with business and return that very day. So a driver who moves slowly and is careful on the road is not loved. They think he's a bad driver. The one who takes them nearer to God is the good driver, that, you know, heaven is near. So I think this is not a problem. We can't say that there is illiteracy among Ugandans about road safety. That is not the case. But there is that short-term mindset that makes them, you know, want to achieve something very quickly using a shorter route. And I think that is the general disease in Uganda.
But
everybody.
Don't you think, Honorable Ruhunda, that you, in positions of power and leadership up there, have also given a very bad example to the people you're talking about right now? Because why should a minister, a state minister, or a director in a ministry, in an agency or department of government, be having a siren in their car, pushing the rest of us off the road to the pavement, sometimes even finding us there, when he has no right of way? And almost, I've lost count of the number of vehicles in Kampala that have put sirens in their own vehicles. I hope you don't have one, sir. But it's like the order of the day in Kampala. What kind of hooliganism that is perpetrated by the people in top positions of leadership?
I think we even debated on this matter in Parliament, even when we were reviewing the road safety and the traffic and road safety law. We reviewed, and these sirens, a lot are illegal. Actually, there are categories who are supposed to use sirens, from the president, the vice president, speaker, prime minister. I think he will help me with other officers. But we minimized. So all these, you know, patients, me, I call them patients because it's ambulances that we respect. They are taking a patient. So when you choose yourself to be a patient and you are a government official and you are pushing people off the roads, I think to me that has is something we should
Honorable
really...
Sereko, let's take this to Commandant Sereko. Actually, tell us who is supposed to be having some of those sirens.
Yeah,
so that, and then tell me if tomorrow I'm not giving way to whoever, whether I am committing a crime.
Yeah, there are actually very few, according to the Traffic and Road
Those are
Safety
supposed
Act.
to have them.
And of course, it is under review, as Honorable has mentioned. Maybe they will need to include others.
I think so.
But for now, it is just the President, the Vice President, the Speaker of Parliament, the Deputy, and the Prime Minister, then army vehicles and police vehicles in an emergency situation.
And maybe
An emergency.
And the Chief Justice, maybe.
And the Chief Justice, and the Deputy. Yes. But the rest of us.
So why do we have Kampala full of vehicles that are telling us they have right of way?
No, actually they don't. And when
you are the commander of Kampala Traffic,
yes,
Metropolitan Kampala Traffic Commander.
Yes.
Sir, the city is full of everybody who has an illegal siren.
And
you are looking at them.
No, we are not. Let me tell you. For your information, we are impounding these vehicles. What we do, once we impound one, we park it at the police station. Unfortunately, we don't have a ticket to enforce sirens and whatever on the EPS ticket yet. But it is being implemented in the Traffic and Road Safety Act. It is going to be an offense to have such sirens and swiveling lights in your grills of your vehicle. For now, what we are doing, once we impound the vehicle, we shall park it, and then we shall call our IOVs to inspect the vehicles, have those sirens and swiveling lights removed at your cost, and then if you are reckless, we shall also charge you for reckless driving. Like those people who keep on the right of the road, and then those ones who come and bulldoze off everyone from the road.
Somebody listening and watching you right now,
yes,
I am sure will tell you, look, these guys have their vehicles with the lights you're talking about and siren moving across with your men and women standing by to watch.
Let me tell you.
And in some cases, actually abating them.
No, let me tell you. What happens, as you see today, most of these people are there, as you earlier mentioned, are government officials who are doing this. Unfortunately. Unfortunately. They are government officials doing this. They are underlooking traffic officers on the road. They are minimizing them. Then you find some with bodyguards who are armed. I think you have seen that we are being shot on the roads. So what is better, to save my life of a government official who's ready to shoot, or to let you pass?
Okay, I think that's very serious. So, Mr. Legislator, you are, and from the NRM, you are having a government that is descending into anarchy. Because what is happening in Kampala and downtown, especially, it's a jungle. And God forbids, it's going to raise to other sectors of our society, and then it will be man eat man. So the government in which you serve proudly as NRM, you need to shed a light in your works and find a solution for what we face as a people.
Well, I think this goes round to the entire national planning. You see, when you don't make a forecast in terms of the growth of a country and the demands, then you create this kind of chaos that we are going through. Because the population of Kampala, which was planned for in the 50s and 60s, you find the infrastructure that is available has not taken into consideration this huge growth in the demands of services, especially on the roads. Now, we had never thought about borders. This is a new industry that just emerged out of the desperation, you know, people finding solution over traffic jams. So you can imagine. So you are getting the citizens just responding without the planners actually taking the responsibility of seeing how they can direct, manage, and control traffic on the roads. So the designs of the roads that we have had have been, you know, all along I have been complaining to the engineers and saying, you know, why do you design a road that you are very sure is going to be a death trap? You see, if you look at the percentage of the people who own vehicles is 10, almost less than 10%. But you have 90% of Ugandans who don't own cars. But you see, you don't plan for the pedestrians. Actually, when you go to the statistics, you are going to find that the pedestrians, they die at a very high rate. The biggest number of deaths are pedestrians. So people who are walking back to work or going to school and so on, they find death on the road. Those ones sometimes are even not mentioned. You only get like a big number, which when a bus goes, you know, like what we experienced in Fort Portal, that is the shock. Actually, it has now brought to the attention of the whole country about the problem. So the issue is, if you go into the police data, you're going to find that the biggest number of deaths are as a result of their pedestrians. And these pedestrians, cumulatively, it becomes a huge number. So that doesn't raise an alarm in the newspaper or a headline. It doesn't get captured in the news because a pedestrian has just been killed by a fast moving car.
Honorable Runda, as a legislator, I mean, is there anything we can do? Do we need other laws? What we have, if enforced, continue to work? Because pedestrians are killed because of the indiscipline of people who probably want even to put illegal sirens and cut corners and drive on the pavement because you want, maybe you think your job is more serious than other Ugandans, and in the process of trying to beat the traffic, you end up running into somebody.
I think
so what can Parliament do?
We need to condemn and shame some of the Ugandans who think they have the right of way than others. I think this is something which, as a country, we should condemn and shame, because they are a big problem. You don't plan for your movements. Many people, they must have their plans. You know, you must have your day plan. You must know the type of meetings you're going to engage in. And then you should fix time on how to move, putting into consideration the traffic and the time when you have to reach a destination. You know, so shall we all have to get these sirens in order to do our job?
I'll pick two. Let me pick two individuals. These are senior cabinet ministers. Actually, one of them is your supervisor, General Katumba Wamala. For God's sake, he will be in his lane. He's a general of the army, a minister of internal affairs. More senior than some people we see, but he can keep in his lane. I'll give his deputy, General Muhoozi, David Muhoozi. He's a general in the army, a former CDF, a minister. He will be in his lane. But can't people just look at people with responsibilities at that level and they can be disciplined? Why should somebody else, even not at that level, trying to think is more important than others?
Yeah,
I don't know. It's kind of.
I think.
I just don't get it.
No, you see, the way how you respect yourself. You know, when you are a statesman, a patriotic Ugandan, and you are in an office, you take into consideration the plight of others. You have empathy. They are driven by empathy because they feel that actually they are being in those offices, it's the taxpayers who have to toil on a daily basis to make sure that they are paid to do the job. So they have respect for the taxpayers. But you have these other people who have no sense or understanding that actually they are being in those offices is because other Ugandans are sacrificing to keep them there. So someone thinks he's just entitled to being in an office and thinks he's been privileged, and the power enters their heads, and at the end of the day they just look down everybody. And I think that is the big problem that we have. You know, getting such characters in offices who have no sense of understanding that their obligation is to serve Ugandans, and they must be in position to respect Ugandans. And I think that is the big issue which we really need to reflect on as a nation, as leaders, and we have to change. So, unfortunately, the kind of the population that we have, it looks at somebody when you get into such an office, they make you to be invisible. They look at you as a most privileged person, and then you begin feeling that is your right. So it is actually the voters, Ugandans, when you are appointed, they say now you have fallen into things, and then you have to be treated.
We pamper you, and then
yes, but
and then we spoil you.
As I mean, I have always seen that.
Now he's trying to blame us.
No, because remember, like if you go to public functions, you find an investor who owns an industry employing so many Ugandans, cannot get the front seat, but you know, a councillor or an MP who doesn't own even an industry is given high regard. So the way how we treat you know, the politicians vis-a-vis people really who create wealth for the country is just amazing. You can't get this. I mean, if you go in these developed countries, first of all, let me show you the real statistics, what actually happens. Okay. We have, if you look at the developed nations, they have the highest number of vehicles. Almost every family has got a car, but they have the least number of deaths
on the roads.
On the roads. If you look at the WHO report, the developed nations have 8.3 persons per 100,000 deaths. When you come to the developing countries, we have 27.5 deaths per 100,000. Now, why should the nations like Uganda, which have fewer cars, have more deaths than these developed countries? Why? Because when I am walking on a road in any European country, I don't even have to worry about my life, because the moment I step on the road, even if I have made a mistake as a pedestrian, for instance, they have a law of, if you are in an urban area, you have to go 30 kilometers per hour. 30. You don't have to go beyond that. But when here in Uganda, in an urban setting, it is 50. Now imagine you multiply 50 by 2, because others, they have to fly, even going through an urban area, where you know there is a lot of traffic, so many people moving on the roads. So you see the culture, understanding of knowing that human, you see the human value. You see, when someone sees you walking on the road, they just think you are nothing because someone is in a big car. You know, they don't know your role to the economy of this country. Do you know that per year, if we equate the losses that we incur as a country, it goes close to 4 trillion?
4 trillion.
4 trillion. 4 trillion. You just make a small mental picture of people who have died in an accident. Just let's look at these ones who have died crashed in the bus. They had families, others lecturers at universities, the business women. You find everybody who was moving on that road had something they are adding to the economy of this country.
There could be 10 or more people behind
so
you.
now imagine you are losing 100. There was a time when the number moved up to 100. Now, when you look at the losses, these are people who cannot be replaced. You see? We struggle so much to educate our people, get skills, skill them. People struggle so much to make businesses. By the time you go to look at the loss, the cumulative effect of that, it comes to 4 trillion. Now, just you see, we've got to analyze the loss chain of accidents. You look at those who are disabled, they can no longer be economically active. You look at the congestion in hospitals, the overstretching of the health sector. You cannot believe. You see, people they are not driven by statistics or data. You reach in these hospitals, you can't believe. Do you know how many neurosurgeons we have in this country? Do you know how many borders that move minus helmets? And do you know how many hit their heads on the roads? And do you know those head injuries, what it means? Do you know, as a country, we are struggling. We don't have these CT scans. We don't have, there are so many facilities that are lacking. We don't have the specialists. Now, when you see people are just living at the mercy of God, this is extremely dangerous. And we must really fight hard to avert this catastrophe.
So now, in this fight, Rogers and Seriko, you are on the road, you are men and women on the road trying to create order, and they're overwhelmed. One example I have seen is you can't go to Clock Tower in the morning, because I use that road often. You can't believe the kind of impunity that is. I have nothing against borders, but I'm only saying, can they at least follow the rules? Because they will come about 200 of them coming on the wrong side, coming towards you, and we are the one. And you are struggling to make way because you have to.
Yes. And
then I'm wondering, how did we reach here? What would you propose?
And you know, at that point where you've mentioned, there's a lot of road construction going on right now.
Even before road construction.
Yes, you are right. But now it is
worse.
It is now so bad because you have those barriers. Then the road narrows, it turns into a bottleneck somewhere, and then you have all these borders, you know, running through that bottleneck. And you also have your small car there, or big car. Now, the issue of borders, I don't know what we are going to do about it. If you went to police stations...
First of all, we can't blame them alone, because people in higher positions of authority
also do the same.
Are even worse.
Yes. Because I actually talked to someone about it, I think yesterday, that now we are getting these borders who are doing this, but they are also seeing big people doing the same. Huh? If someone challenges you that you are letting those big men pass there, and me, if I pass, you come and arrest me, what's the difference? You get my point. So I think at the end of that day, the example you gave of General Katumba Wamala, I think it goes back to discipline, self-discipline, yeah, which is lacking in most of our people here in Uganda, unfortunately. Because I think, as they say that, what do they say that begins from home, charity? I think some of these generals are really good. You are surprised that you find them in the jam and they're just quiet like this. And you're like, oh my God, so we tap each other. So-and-so is stuck there in the jam. Please help in pulling that side. But without raising any hula balu. You get it? And then you get these other ones who won't have a word from you, who don't have a minute to listen to you. They can knock you off the road, you know. It is absurd. It is just absurd.
So Honorable Alex, as a legislator, there was a video, very disturbing video, of his colleague who was being held by the collar by military police in downtown. But before that, we saw what happened with the bodyguards of Major General Matayo Chalegonza. Before that, you know, a police officer who lost a leg because he was trying to talk to somebody who had committed an offense. And, you know, again, you need to do more. I was impressed by by General Elwelu, who I think apologized in Parliament for what happened to a police officer on the road. But then there should be, I mean, there should be some leadership. There should be something that should be done, either from Parliament or the highest level of government. Because, look, some people will manhandle his men and the women on the street, or even just make a call and they'll say, Gamba Nogu. I mean, this Nogu guy, who is this Nogu?
I think, well, there are some individual actions. These individual actions, they tend to get institutionalized, which is very unfortunate, because they are, you know, not everybody is the same. So people, sometimes some people, when they get into powerful positions, they behave, you know, in a funny way, because maybe they are not fit to be there, but they find themselves there. You know, sometimes these things happen. So they behave in a way that is really not right. But these individual actions are supposed to be subjected to discipline. We must get the institutions involved, because we cannot get the army, you know, these soldiers who have been, you know, behaving the way they are doing, you know, go on like that. They must be really disciplined. They should be court-martialed, actually. They cannot go on undermining a sister security, you know, organization. I mean, this will have to call for these the heads of these security organs to meet and see how to inculcate discipline. You know, it is so shameful for what you see. How can you, you know, begin undermining a traffic officer the way how we could see? The video was really disturbing, and I think this has to be condemned, and that officer must really be reprimanded. So to me, I don't think that it is a government policy or it is an institutional policy to allow that kind of anarchy that you have described. I think now it is high time that we begin.
It is not a government policy, but it's a government failure to do what is expected of them.
Well, not necessarily, but I think these are small incidents which have not been taken seriously, and they begin like that. And I think this is why now whoever is in leadership of these institutions must really take serious measures on those culprits. I saw the one who was the incident of CMI operator. I think that was arrested and they dealt with. So I think even that officer must get arrested. So we need to see action. Okay. And when that action is done, then we will minimize these trigger-happy individuals. And I think that is something which we need. But I think the fundamental point, which I really think needs serious attention, is to do with the government officials who are behaving badly on the roads and setting a very bad example. And I think that is something which we need to take seriously. We must really show people that actually what they are doing is bad and shame them.
Okay.
So to me, I think that is fundamental. But I wanted to still bring this discussion to the point where on the management of public transport, because I feel that there is extremely we have privatized public transport. Remember, before it used to be government, but we've left the private sector to run the way they want.
Okay, hold on to your point, Honorable Alex Ruhunda, on public transport, because we need to get into that, because we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we shall drill deep into that issue and how can we have efficient public transport system in our city and even across the country. We shall be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guests this evening are Honorable Alex Ruhunda, Member of Parliament representing Fort Portal, and Rogers Nsereko, who is the Kampala Metropolitan Police Traffic Commander, and we're discussing road safety or the lack of safety on our roads, and because there's too much carnage on Ugandan roads. By the way, people sometimes drink and get on the road, and I'm told a story is told of some guys who are driving to Mbarara via Masaka, and they were drinking in their car, and they are all drunk, and they reached somewhere, they have run out of booze, and so they wanted to refill. And they moved right, they saw something that looked like a joint for them, or a kafunda, a pub, and pulled all their bottles and put them on the reception, only to realize later it was the police post.
Is it a true story?
No, it is a true story.
And then I hope they were arrested.
I don't know, but I mean, you know, we are a free country, and sometimes that freedom, people may not realize that we are very free. And I'm saying this, I know some friends will not be happy, but the truth is there's a lot of freedom in this country.
Mm.
Yeah, that's true.
And there are things we do here. If you did them in any other country around in our neighborhood, you would sleep in jail.
Absolutely.
Of course.
But I don't think some people know that. Because some people think we are actually under serious...
I think they need to get out of Uganda and they see what happens in other countries.
Maybe freedom may not be around other things, especially political leadership and stuff like that. There you may be constrained, but other freedoms in this country, sometimes maybe that has been a problem. But there is somebody who does not agree with you, Honorable Ruhunda. Let me look for it here. And he says the problem we have in Uganda are illiterate drivers, incompetent police, insensitive leadership. Ask Nsereko whether he and his ilk do know traffic signs. Honorable Ruhunda is covering up the inconvenience of government. The law enforcement is non-existing, and there's no excuse for this anomaly. The power enters their heads. Ruhunda, oh my God! What?
I think maybe that person was looking at his own perspectives, but I think I touched on a number of those issues. Well, we have the best laws actually.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to enforcement, this is where Nsereko has suffered because of the mindsets, which are terribly wrong. The derangement. I don't know whether we are in a normal. I don't know. I have to verify this because I read in the papers that 14 million Ugandans have got mental problems, and to me I got so scared because I said, oh. You know, sometimes you see people and you think they are normal.
They could be sick.
But they could be mentally sick. The mental health issues are not taken very seriously. You only, until someone removes the clothes and becomes a berserk, that's when maybe you can say he's mentally ill. But I think there are people...
It's a factor as well.
Yeah. People have mental issues. And you don't know that. And part of the mental sickness is what we are explaining, where you mentally believe that all the others are not they don't have right of way. It is you who must get it. That's a mental sickness. But you see now, when you are analyzing it, and even when the traffic tries to intervene, and the person still enforces his right or her right by trying to really say they are right what they are doing when actually it is against the law. So to me that is mental sickness. So they are not able to analyze, understand. Why should the general curator, my friend, keep discipline and move also in traffic?
Actually, somebody has sent me. Somebody has also sent me a message here
but
that general curator is one of those.
Yeah, but we used to discuss.
Who will be disciplined.
Yeah, we used to discuss about this. Why? I think to me that sometimes, like, people who are terribly corrupt, obscenely corrupt, they have a mental problem. It's mental sickness, because they just have no understanding. They don't have an understanding of the common good. They don't know the damage that they are causing. You see, so you see them and you think they are normal beings, but when actually they have a mental problem, that greed is just too much. It enters the head, and then all their actions are just taken by greed. So we've got to understand that, and I think we have to analyze. You mentioned something very interesting, the breakdown of discipline, right from the home, the institutions of learning. You go to the spiritual powers where, you know, the faithfuls go. You find in every corner where the vanguards of discipline are supposed to be enforced, there is total breakdown. It's a big problem. And this freedom which we has been, you know, given to everybody. People begin drinking at 9 a.m., 7 a.m. in the morning. You find men leaving their houses, going to drink the whole day, doing nothing. So I wanted to now look, all these drivers who go into these cars, they're a product of that society. No discipline, drinking, thinking that they can, you know, do what they want. They have no working culture. So you hand over such people to drive the public. Of course, they will take them to death. And that's why we are saying that when I was making a point that we should make sure that the police, and especially the ministry, the department which we have charged within the law, the Department of Transport Regulation and Licensing, it must make sure that all the drivers, the public drivers, they have got to have refresher courses. They must be checked good enough. We have got an organization, Right to SF, where they started an institute for drivers, a training in Mukono. And this training for drivers, if you are female, they train you for free to increase the gender. How I would love to be driven by a woman in a bus, because I know that the mothers, they care for their children. So these are issues which I think we need to look at. And the aspect of discipline, if we don't build back this discipline in our country and get responsible citizens, whenever a person is placed, it can be even in the media. I have been seeing people, how they abuse the media.
We have all fallen short.
Yes.
We have, as Ugandans, we have all fallen short of the glory. We have all fallen short, almost in every sector. And I'm wondering, how do we reach here?
Yeah, we need
almost in every sector.
The renaissance and the rebirth.
Overwhelmingly, the big number of us Ugandans, you want to jump the queue? This is us. This is where we are. And I'm wondering, how did we get here? How do we get out of here and come back to order?
Yeah, I think maybe we need the renaissance, the rebirth of new thinking.
No, a benevolent dictator.
Well, that can be part of the solution, but I think, notwithstanding, we have reduced. For instance, now we've got very limited think tanks in the country. You know, we have very few people who are thinking. You know, people are just reacting. And I think that is the crisis that we have. People are just running around reacting to situations. People who have to do the deep thinking and reflection and look at the future of the country, where it is going, and where we need to be next 100 years. What kind of, look at all these universities, what kind of knowledge are they generating? how do we get to tap into that base? Well, those days we used to have these huge debates by the Professor Mamdanis, the Professor Mjajus, the Ash Tandons. You know, we had really serious think tanks in this country.
But you remember, about 20 years ago, you and I started the think tank in Fort Portal.
Well,
it died, so though.
It's still, no, but you can see now we have the Mountains of the Moon University, which has come out of the thinking processes. So to me, I think there are some efforts being done by the civil society in as far as the road safety is concerned. But look, why should we go to beg government to finance the road safety components in the Ministry of Works? Now, when you look at the deficit in enforcement measures, there are very little resources going into enforcement. So when you have an understaffed, underfunded road safety authority within the Ministry of Works, that department which we have given a lot of powers, it doesn't have the funds, then how do you expect it will not enforce this law? Now look at our police. So you find that the whole traffic section, actually the time when when there was Jennifer Musisi here and she said these traffic fellas can go, they are not useful, and they just withdrew them.
Yeah, I remember a 9-hour traffic jam.
My God, you could see the total chaos. But you undermine that work of the traffic person.
But also remember, though Jennifer Musisi at one time was criticized, but during her reign, there was some form of order. And you know why? The enforcement was robust. Some at one point, maybe she was dictating, but things worked and people followed orders and people were like, somebody would say, I can't get on a pavement, Musisi's men will gate me.
That is true.
And there was order.
Yeah.
Because the leadership was tough. So why couldn't we stay on that? But the chief executive of the country said at the end of the day that Musisi
I think
was not the right one.
You can sympathize with the chief executive of the country, given what these Ugandans, when it comes to the time of elections, the preferences, you find all these borders, they become extremely handy. So now to put a law that they don't like. But let me tell you, these laws, by the way,
Alex, what are you implying?
No, I'm just trying to show you that
you should think about the votes instead of think about the right thing.
But that's one thing, that they are politically engineered decisions, which the technical persons, you know, when they are applying the law to the dot.
We deserve a leader who's not going to look about the votes, but going to look about what is right for the country.
Yes, but now look, you have a population that is already, as we have described, their preferences, they just want freedom to do whatever they want without being disturbed. And you see, that is chaos, that is anarchy, when you allow a population to do that. So we must really come out. I remember during the last campaigns, they came to me and said, stop the advert on the radio about people encroaching on wetlands, because they was condemning people in wetlands, you know, not spoil our city. But you know, they said they should. So I said, no, they must get to know you because of that. If you compromise, then it's a problem. So what we need is to become consistent, because we will not solve these problems unless politically we admit that we must really enforce and support the enforcing mechanism.
It had to take my colleague at another place where I work, to be exact, at KFM, the head of radio, Mr. Joseph Beyanga, to start a campaign of road safety by walking on foot from Kampala to Bushenyi. Why? Because he's been saddened by, you know, the chaos, the death, the blood on our road. You're like, maybe if it can work and maybe some people keep, you know, giving messages to people. People are frustrated to that extent.
Yes.
That this man had to walk from Kampala to Bushenyi.
Yes.
Why? To, you know, campaign for road safety. But maybe do we need to go back and teach road safety in primary school seriously? And probably we are going to get a generation that is going to be more sensitive because it looks like as a lesson of the subject, it's no longer there.
Actually, it is there. We have a unit that does that. It is headed by Inspector Ugandan. She attends these schools and tries to teach them things about road safety. However, I think it should be like a syllabus, a short syllabus on road safety, on the timetable. And I think in that small way, I think we would have done some good service to our younger generations. However, I still think that road safety begins with you. We give all these reasons, but if you are careful behind the wheel, really careful behind the wheel, you will revise these statistics downwards. But we give all these sorts of reasons, which I find to be very absurd. I don't like some of these reasons that I get to hear. It is upon you, the driver, to ensure safety for yourself and for others. I hear people blaming police, or police is not doing that. Police cannot be everywhere to police you. It cannot. So where we are not, what are you going to do?
So what has been your experience or the people you command in dealing with the other security agencies? Because a few images we have seen are bad, but those could be isolated images and you know better.
Actually, they are not really isolated. They are quite a number. And we are kind of used to it now on the roads.
But but that's humiliation. How do you get used to humiliation?
I mean, what will you do? Are you going to put, and that's why I also don't support, I'm sorry to say, Mr. President, if you're watching, but arming us will be some kind of...
An equalizer?
No. Do you imagine a situation where you pull out a gun, and I'm an officer, I also pull out, and we shoot each other? I don't see that scenario to be a very smart one. Yes, it is good to protect us somehow, but what will the streets become? Because now it will become a war zone of a traffic matter. You pull out a gun, I pull out, then we kill each other. I still have my reservations over that. But for now, I got, after that incident at the new park, I got a call from one of the top men there, and he told me, please, whenever you get such cases, just let me know. I think that was the part I was lacking as a commander in Kampala. He told me, once you get such scenarios, please call me. This is my hotline. Because they're also fed up of apologizing. And you know, in the forces, we have what they call vicarious liability. You are liable for the actions of your men. You, the commander. You get my point. So, you are seeing generals coming on public television and apologizing. It is unwarranted. It is unwarranted. It is the discipline of our men that matters. Once that is done and they are disciplined, the generals won't have to come on television to apologize for anything.
But you know why? Because some generals have been called when you have arrested officers or even civilians,
yes,
or their relatives,
yes,
and they say you Gampanogu, and the
yes,
general somewhere will tell you ceasefire,
yes,
leave that
Patrick.
person. I only know one person, and that's Afande Kasinje. When somebody called Kasinje so that Kasinje can sort them out, Kasinje talked to the officer on the road and said, what has he done? Said ABCD. do what the law is telling you. Funga huyo.
Absolutely.
And the man
Now,
came back more
Patrick,
energized.
I would think it's not wrong to call someone you know to seek for help. If I'm in position to help you, Patrick, if you call me, is it a problem? But what have you done? The gravity of the offense you've committed. What is it? We get calls every day from different people. Yes, my person is here, but I investigate. What has he done? If I listen and the offense is a bit complicated and wide, I say, no, I'm not in position to do what? To assist. But there are things that I can assist. So I don't see any problem or when someone calls and you're in position to help, to step in. And usually in such cases, you need to involve the person who has arrested that other person. You conference on the matter. What can we do? How can we get this person out of this bad situation? You get my point. So the Gamba Nogos will be there always. Believe me, you cannot avoid them. But it also depends on what the other person has done. So do you think that if someone called me and told me that, oh, help me with that officer who was manhandling a traffic officer, what would I do? I would say, no. I'm not in position to do that for you. I'm sorry. Because of the gravity of the offense he committed.
Okay, at this very moment, I'm going to be opening the lines because at this point, you who is on the road, perhaps you have your own experience, you have your own issues. There's something you have seen or something you have heard and something you would want to share, or maybe some kind of solution you think we could use to solve the mess and stop the carnage and bloodbath on Ugandan roads. So pick your phone and tell us what you think. The numbers are going to be on the screen. You tell us your name and where you're from and give us your experience. And if you have a question to either Honorable Alex Ruhunda or Commander Nsereko, they will be able to respond to you. So should we be able to expect that maybe Parliament, since you are on the committee that is focused on this issue, you are a road safety activist and you have worked a lot in this area, but are we getting dividends from your committee and even your own self as a country, your own work?
Well, I got actually frustrated because basically, as we strive hard to campaign for road safety, take the measures that are necessary, we are seeing accidents increasing instead of reducing. But I think we had managed and succeeded with the buses. I think the buses had been quiet for some time. There was some sanity and until this nasty incident of Link bus happened. So their efforts. There was the time when there was this campaign of Fika Salama. We could see that, lives were saved. We could see examples of that.
Before Fika Salama, there were so many accidents on Massacre Road.
Yes.
And in fact, even I remember religious leaders had to go and pray for the road, thinking that there was some kind of a spirit on the road. It was not spirit, it was the indiscipline, maybe the demon in the age. Reverend, it was not.
I think that's like I have said, why are Ugandans so much spiritual? Because they have no answer to some of these issues. They have no scientific answer. So even when an accident happens, instead of going to do real scientific investigation, like I heard that the driver had slept with someone's wife and so on, and so I was telling people, how can you begin talking like that? Do you mean that other people had to die because of his action? Why do you have to say that was bewitching, something like witchcraft? I said, so the mentality of Ugandans is we are not driven by science, and that is the danger, because driving on the road is scientific, getting behind the machine is scientific. So negotiating, making sure people have reached safely, you've got to follow the scientific methods.
Look at what happened in Nyangabu just yesterday.
Yeah, now that's the safety. Imagine these are safety issues.
A nurse and a patient.
You have a patient, you don't check, that gas or the cylinder which was being used for oxygen. I think it must have had mechanical. It must have been damaged, and they never checked. So are you going to blame that on the spirit, the devil? So I think the whole point, we don't have the culture of safety and prevention. You see, if the president had not come out very seriously on COVID to really control, this was one of, the president understands the weakness of Ugandans. So he had to take very stringent measures to keep the Ugandans disciplined, but they were still, resisting.
Well, when Delta came, we all fell into line.
Yes.
But somebody is asking on SGS stations that why they aren't functioning, and he wants you to answer. It's a project whose contract was renewed between the government and SGS, and it's the taxpayer shouldering the burden for something they are not benefiting from. What do you know about this SGS?
I think that is for the Minister of Works. Unfortunately, I can't give an answer that is not accurate. What I know is that they have the process has been really delayed unnecessarily. But I think that the minister must be in a position to provide an answer.
And somebody has just sent another message. Said, our drivers have no discipline on the road, especially lorry and border drivers. The lorry drivers have no respect for small vehicles on the road, and they want to push them off the road. And am I right saying that some of the drivers do their work when under the influence of drugs? Then border riders, many of them don't know traffic rules. A rider will overtake a motorist from either side. Traffic department has a lot of work to do to train the drivers and the riders.
Yes, that comment is so correct. We have so many cases of indiscipline by lorry drivers, especially like Sinotrucks these days. You know, they are so high up there, and they tend to bulldoze everyone off the road. You know, the way they turn, the way they come hooting. So on that point, they are right. However, once we chance on you doing that, or once we get complaints against you, action is taken.
We seem to have a call online. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, what's your name, sir, and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Kireka.
Okay, go right ahead. Kireka, you're on air.
Yes, thank you for this time for discussing also at the security of life and property. There is a major challenge we have in Uganda is that most of our drivers are not.
We have a problem with the line, my brother. We have a problem with that line. We cannot make sense of what you're saying. Apologies for that. The line was very bad. Let me try another caller. Hello. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yes. What's your name? What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Timothy. I'm calling from Rweza.
Rweza, go right ahead.
Yeah, sir. I wanted to ask this police officer, that's a traffic officer, why they give lights to these MTN people to close roads when they are promoting their campaign.
Why do people close roads when they are promoting the other things?
Yes, like
when there's some promotions,
yesterday.
okay. All right, thank you. Maybe Commander Sereko will try to respond to you on that.
I go ahead.
Okay, let me just pick another caller. I have another caller online. Hello.
Hello, Patrick. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. What's your name?
My name is Simon. I'm calling from Luvoa.
Okay.
The biggest challenge we have is that people who get permits do not get sufficient training. Someone gets a permit, they keep it for 3 years, and after 3 years, they just go for upgrade without necessary training. saying someone who was riding a motorcycle is given a class to drive a bigger vehicle, a taxi or any, and they put the lives of the Ugandan in danger. So it is very necessary for police to put necessary measures and stopgap to make sure that people don't get upgrades when they don't have the skills to be on the road. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to ask another Ugandan to... Yes, I have another caller. Hello?
Thank you so much.
Okay, that one is, we have an echo there. You're listening to yourself, so we can't have a conversation with you. All right, let's get back to you. Well, I have a caller. Hello, hello.
Yes. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. What's your name?
Yes, thank you. This is Lambert returning from Chileka.
Lambert, okay.
Yes, and we thank you for this kind of discussion.
You're welcome.
Yes, my comment is that most of our drivers for vehicles, for motorbikes, and the rest are not trained technically.
Okay.
Somebody knows how to ride a bicycle, then he adds on riding a motorbike for 2 days, then he goes on the road and he runs most of what is necessary on the road. It is also very easy with corruption in the country that people get drunk so easily when they are not worth working on the roads.
All right.
And so I think we need to check the drivers, even these vehicles with automatic vehicles and the rest people just drive.
Okay.
So I think really look at the conditions of the vehicles, look at the conditions of the drivers, look at the condition of the other road users, really these other pedestrians and the rest. I think all of us need to be oriented extensively, and there is need for check. Even some of the officers I have seen are not technical. They stop you on a very dangerous place, dangerous corner. At a high speed, they just stop you within a very short distance.
I agree.
That you can fail to brake and really end his life on the road. So I think it's a whole bunch of issues which calls for attention, technical issues, then expertise in the driving and the mission. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lambert, and I agree with you when talking about sometimes traffic police, they put roadblocks in the very wrong place. During COVID, it wasn't actually traffic. Somebody was putting a roadblock right after the radio lane down at Mukwano. And I would ask, I said, why did you have to choose to put a roadblock right here? Do you understand you're making us just park across the radio line? How?
Actually, when
and you see people driving, and then you reach a railway line in the jam, and it's just in the middle of the... I'm like, can't you just wait until you cross it at once?
Yeah, we get such concerns most times, and once we receive them, of course we shall make our investigations, and we shall advise the officers on ground, that side where the complaint is, to change those posts, because you hear people complaining that, oh, I was driving and I was approaching a corner, all of a sudden the traffic officers were right after the corner and they were beckoning me to stop, you know. So those cases are there, true, and once we get to know about them, we advise accordingly as administrators, yes. And then for the other person who was saying that today someone gets a border and then tomorrow he has a permit allowing him to drive a truck, you know, it is not that simple, actually. There's a procedure that IOV follows for you to qualify to get another class of permit, and it is such a long process. So you don't just jump from a car and then you go to a bus. No, you need to have driven for a certain period of time. And then all these, you have to be at a certain age to drive a certain, like a bus. So it is such a process.
Okay.
So it is not as easy as he tries to depict. No. Then for the road blockages, yes, we do actually. Where's the camera? Where can I look?
Number
this
one.
Yeah, we most times block the roads for purposes of securing Ugandans who are gathered at certain points. Why? Because we are in a season of, we have a lot of terrorism going on. So when big people are gathered at a place, to minimize on the risk of killing them, we tend to cut off some of these roads to ensure that they're safe where they are.
All right.
Unfortunately, Uganda, Kampala is not such a big area that we have, you know, space for that. But in such spaces, we need also to accommodate those people and also you others to also flow.
But let me ask, these scheduling lights in the grill, those blue, yellow, whatever,
Yes.
green, what are
Yes.
they for?
I wish I knew myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe just maybe for a show, right? All right, our time is out, gentlemen. Let me ask you, Commander Nsereko,
Yes,
just
please.
to give us your concluding remark.
Oh, yes, thank you very much. First of all, I wish to thank NTV for this opportunity that it has accorded to me to speak to the country. And I wish to call upon Ugandans to let you know that actually safety begins with you, and we want you alive, and we want the rest of Ugandans alive. So your responsibility in your vehicle will either kill us or keep us alive.
Thank you so much.
So it is up to you to keep
Honorable-
us alive and keep yourself alive.
Honorable
Thank you.
Alex Ruhunda, what's going to be your parting shot?
Yeah, of course, we are not giving up in the fight against the road carnages. Actually, we hear less about water, but I'm told there is also heavy death on water. But since 99% are using roads, we will continue. We have put the best laws. Actually, there are stringent measures even for causing death. If you cause death, you can even be imprisoned for 10 years and given even a huge fine. If you cause injury, you still can be imprisoned for 3 years. So the laws are there. The Ugandans must know that right now the revised act, the Road Safety Act, has really tried to put into consideration the global standards. So when we get serious enforcement measures, I think many people will learn from that. We need to have faith in ourselves that we can really create our country to be a peaceful and a prosperous country. When we save lives, we have saved wealth.
Thank you so much, Honorable Alex Ruhunda, Member of Parliament representing Fort Portal City. Thank you so much, Mr. Rogers Nsereko, Kampala Metropolitan Traffic Police Commander. And I want to thank you, for those of you who have been listening and watching this program, I want to thank you for your great company. Good night, and God bless Uganda.